On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, we get an update on the chances of Connor Williams returning to Miami, and even his agent says it's unlikely. Plus, Drew Rosenhaus gave an update on the likelihood of Emmanuel Ogbah potentially returning to the Dolphins. We will talk about both those things. Also, Jaelan Phillips, is he on track to be ready for week one? We will talk about the latest developments in that, plus what I've heard over the last few months, kind of leading up to what we're seeing right now. Plus, we'll talk about Terron Armstead and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. I want to start off the show by saying thank you to all of you who came out yesterday and supported the show Dolphins After Dark. Me, Jen, Brittany, and Neil. Between X and YouTube, we had over 1,300 people watching us yesterday, so I want to appreciate each and every one of you for supporting that show. It's only going to get better and better as we get into camp, etc., etc. So I hope you enjoyed it. Really having fun doing that show. I really like the chemistry we all got going on there, so please continue to enjoy that. That said, go subscribe to the Sideline T podcast, all right? Britt, Jennifer, Mary, the girls, they got some great things coming up over the next couple weeks with you guys, all right? So make sure you go follow them. They're going to have some great special guests over the next couple weeks. You're going to like the conversations. You're going to enjoy the shows. So make sure you go. Let's get them to 1,000, all right? Let's get them to 1,000 because their focus is bringing you guys good content and content that's worth your time. So make sure you go check them out, all right? I believe their next episode will be this Saturday. I believe they will be dropping their Kyle Krabs show. So make sure you go check that out this Saturday. And then they're going to have a show the next week with another special guest. I don't know if Britt's announced it. I don't think she has, so I'm not going to spoil it for her. But another good guest coming on right after in the following week. So, man, they're going to put out some good stuff. So go check out Sideline T. Go support them. Go subscribe to them. You know, you're already on pace for making it the #1 female-driven Dolphins YouTube channel. We're already on pace for that, so let's keep it going. I mean, you guys showed up for that first show. They had over 55 people watching live, and let me put that in perspective for you. There's people who have been doing it for years, and some of them don't even do 55 while they're live. Some of them, they hover around 55 while they're live. So that was a great start for them. And I want to thank all you for continuing to support them as they try to bring you guys good content. All right. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. What we're going to be having going on this week is Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Myself, Richmond Webb, Mr. Ballgame, Dougley Durong, Alan Poupar, part 1 of the Miami Dolphins content creator panel that you guys voted for. We'll be dropping that at 8 p.m. We'll be live. And then on Thursday night at 8 p.m., myself, Kyle Krabs, Neil Driscoll, Omar Kelly, Alf from 3 Yards Per Carry, part 2 of the Miami Dolphins content creator panel on this channel that all of you guys voted for. So back-to-back great panels coming for you. And then, of course, I'll be, you guys voted on Big O, and I'll be delivering Big O in a one-on-one show over the next few weeks. All right? So we got a lot of content coming for you. And then I'm going to have some prospect profiles dropping. I'm going to get into my offensive, defensive, and special teams training camp previews. So we got a lot of content coming over the next month. Remember, Players Report, July 23rd? We are on June 24th. So we are like a month away from Players Reporting, and I will keep you guys informed and filled in until we get there. Al, he ran for the hills, brother. Al, he ran for the hills. All right? I don't know what else to say. So, yeah, ton of stuff coming your way. It only gets better, man. You know what I mean? Trying to continue to make your guys' off season not feel like an off season. So, right? Because it never stops. There's no off season for people like me and Dougley Do Wrong, right? We keep y'all fed with that content. So, and same, Kyle Krabs does the same. Omar does the same. Poupard's doing the same. So, appreciate all of you guys. All right? So, come through Wednesday and Thursday. You guys voted for all these guests. And I split it up because, let's be honest, it would be way too hectic with like 11 of us up there. That would just be way too hectic. It would draw it out. That would turn it into like a 2-hour show when I can split it up into, me and 4 or 5 guys, and we can make an hour for you, hour and 15 minutes for you. And, it's easier for you guys to digest in 2 parts than it is in 1 long part. So, hey, I'm bringing it to all of you because you guys wanted it, and I'm about what the fans want, all right? And I've always been about what the fans want. So, all right, we're bringing that to you guys this week. Let's also shout out Salvon Ahmed got married. We got to shout out Salvon Ahmed. Shout out to Salvon Ahmed, got married today. And I'm going to shout out someone else, but before I do, I got to say it. Florida fans. And I see Dolphins realtors in the chat. Good luck tonight, okay? Because I think it's over. I'm sorry. They figured Bobrovsky out. They're going high on Bobrovsky. Right now, that was the first game in the McDavid era. Game 6 was where the Edmonton Oilers won without McDavid registering a single point. That team is clicking. Zach Hyman's clicking right now. I'm sorry, man. Now listen, Game 7, anything is possible. This is one and done. We are now in football territory where it's one game, win or go home. The past 6 don't matter. I get all that. But my Lord, good luck to all of you Florida Panther fans tonight. Because I'm sorry, I think heartbreak is knocking on the door for each and every one of you. I really do. I'm sorry, I really do. I really think it is. If you look at the Edmonton Oilers, right? Under their current head coach, all right, after losing 3 straight games, okay? Because there was 3 times this year they lost 3 straight games, all right? The first time after they lost 3 straight games, they won the next 8. The second time they lost 3 games, they won the next 16 games in a row. The third time they lost 3 straight, they won the next 5 games in a row. So this team has a history of rifling off W's after they lose 3 in a row. So what does that tell you? You didn't want the series to start off 3-0. You wanted it to start off like 2-1. So this team believes. They've already come into your guys' barn in Florida and beat you handedly in these last 3 games. Man, all the momentum, all the belief is on that side. The biggest thing for the Florida Panthers tonight is the Florida Panthers need to score the first goal. If the Florida Panthers do not score the first goal, they are in serious, serious trouble. If they score that first goal, man, I'd go to a 1-2-2 trap, and I wouldn't even let Edmonton get through center ice. I wouldn't even allow it. Do the old New Jersey early 2000s, go to the 1-2-2 and just shut them down from mid-ice all the way back into your own end. I would literally do that. I'm not even saying. And then when you do that, when you play a defensive game, you got to make the most of all the mistakes they're going to make, because those are going to be your opportunities, right? If you force turnovers at mid-ice, if you force turnovers in your own end, you got to cycle the puck quickly up the ice, and you got to be heavy on the forecheck, and you got to turn those mistakes that you gain off the trap into opportunities, and you got to convert some of those opportunities, and I think they can win. So we'll see how it goes. I'll be watching tonight. Because, I mean, I called McDavid out on this channel after Game 3, and I said Sidney Crosby would never allow this to happen. And sure as all SHIT, here comes that boy McJesus. So, man, at least it makes for something good to watch tonight, eh? After, and then I gotta watch Game of Thrones after that too. So yeah, good luck to all you Panther fans tonight. All right. Good luck to each and every one of you. Now, Bradley Chubb. Today is Bradley Chubb's birthday. So first I want to start this off by saying happy birthday, Bradley. I hope you get healthy. I hope you go back to 100%. And I hope you get back to the dominant player you were last year. That said, enjoy it, Bradley. Because there's a good chance it might be your last birthday on South Beach as a Dolphin. So, with everything going on right now, with, especially, we've talked about if Tua, they got to, let Tua play on that 50-year option and franchise tag him. Not only does that, hurt the chances drastically of re-signing Javon Holland, that more than likely is going to make Bradley Chubb a salary cap. It's going to make him be a salary cap casualty more than likely. Now, the likelihood was already there. They've drafted Chop Robinson. They drafted Mo Kamara. I'm not going to sit here and get into and put that on Shaq Barrett because it's on a 1-year deal. But they've drafted the youth movement to come up, and you know what the deal is. They're not going to re-up Jaelan Phillips eventually and be sitting here and paying 2 edge rushers $20+ million when you have a quarterback that's going to be in the $55 million range against the cap. That's just not going to happen. So, yeah, happy birthday, but enjoy it, my friend. Drink a couple extra Miami Vices, whatever you got to do to get that South Florida feeling. Because, my friend, and I wish we could keep Bradley Chubb. I hope they find a way to circumvent the cap and keep Bradley Chubb. 110%. I don't want this. I'm telling you, the likelihood is high. We're talking probably 70-30 right now. Bradley Chubb isn't back next year. There's a very good chance, especially if he comes back and he doesn't catch on real quick while, let's say, Mo Kamara and Chop Robinson have got their legs under them by the time he comes back. If he looks like he's still not fully recovered and it is going to take him that 1.5 years, 2 years to get back to what he really was, then yeah, there's going to be an issue because they're not going to sit there and they're not going to pay that kind of money for some guy trying to get his legs back under them. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes for sure. But Bradley Chubb, man, I hope it works out. I really, really do. I'm a Bradley Chubb fan. I hope it works out, but there is a legitimate chance that he doesn't. That it doesn't, and he's a cap casualty. All right. Shout out to 99, Charles Hilton, Timothy Washington, Brian Walters, Andrew Harris, Jackie Treehorn, Pro Special, Aladino Moss, Robert Thomason, Coach AJ, TJ Marshall, Jeffrey Ward. What's going on, Ron? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well, sir. Sam Skeet, Kevin Williams, Darth Logan, DF, Stetson O, Kurok 1972, obviously Kevin Williams, Carey Price, Tom Santinello, J Bands 561, B Rob, Chef Jew, Polly King 305, Samuel Rosa, OG Barry, Daddy Dean, Scotty, how are you doing? Bromar, Dana Bruce, Chef Jew, how are you? How are you doing, sir? I hope everything is well. Kristen Reinhardt, Al Kilpatrick, M Cord, shout out to Brittany again. Go subscribe to the Sideline Tee, all right? Go show them some love. Hammer. What's going on, Samuel? I hope you're doing well. Agent 00K, the Dolphins realtor. Jennifer Forbush. What's going on? How you doing, madame? Jorge. Leslie Mankin. Who else we got here? Connoisseur of Abundance is in the chat. Shout out to the Connoisseur of Abundance. What do you have in abundance? Kevin Brown, how are you doing? Who else? I'm just trying to get through here. Once I start, I got to go to the bottom, eh? The OCD kicks in for real. I'm gonna guess mate Parodi. It's all one word. John Fiorano, local boy, Stetson O, the Wayne D Experience, Kevin Neves, Roosevelt Bowie, Troy Dixon. How are you doing, Troy? How are you doing, Troy? How are you doing? We're still going here. Who else we got? And Roosevelt is good day to you, mate, all the way from Australia. What's going on, Australia? Ricky, my goat, Daniel Meehan, and I think I reached the end. Polly King says, what it do, Fins crew? I have a bet with my boss here at work, who's a Jets fan, for a raise if we sweep the Jets this season. Let's go Dolphins. Well, you need to figure out what you're going to be doing with that raise, because that's happening. All right, that is happening. Josh45, EMT242, Tony T. How are you, gentlemen, doing? How are you all doing, gentlemen and ladies? We got about 200 in the chat, only live on YouTube. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Appreciate all of you that are coming through today. And hey, it's Monday. It is Monday, so let's rock it. Let's get into it without further ado. Let's get into it. And let's start off with Connor Williams, because that has been a topic of discussion and something that's been consistently asked in the chat is what's going to happen with Connor Williams. What's the deal with Connor Williams? Is the way he can come back and play guard? Blah, 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 blah. Well, we got a little insight from his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, when he was sitting down with Josh Mosier, and this is what they discussed, and this is what was said specifically about Connor Williams.
Connor tearing his ACL in Week 11 in that Monday night game against the Titans. And I believe the last time we spoke, you'd said that that knee injury was very involved, and the thought was that it would take significant time, realistically maybe into this next season, if at all. But now there's reports out that he will be ready by Week 1 and that you are shopping him, looking for teams. What changed?
Yeah, those reports are accurate. Let me go on the record here and say that Connor has had remarkable recovery. Nothing short of miraculous. Really looking good for the start of the season. There's a lot of teams interested in him, but I'm just delighted for Connor. Did not anticipate him going to training camp with the team and felt like it might be something during the season before he played. But now he's done an awesome job, and we're going to see Connor Williams in someone's training camp.
You mentioned that teams, plural, are interested in his services. How likely is it that he could stay here with the Dolphins?
On behalf of Connor, I'm sure he'd be open to it, but I wouldn't think that it's likely that he would return here with the Dolphins. Certainly wouldn't rule anything out, but the Dolphins did sign a fine center and Aaron Brewer from the Tennessee Titans, and made a big investment. So I think Connor, wherever he signs, it will be as a center.
So there you go. A couple things to unpack there. First of all, Connor Williams does not clearly want to go back to guard. Wherever he signs, he wants to play at center. There's a rumor going on Twitter right now from one of those accounts that makes up rumors or whatever, and they're claiming that the Bears are highly interested in him, but they're worried about the injury risks or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so unlikely he returns, and the reason why is because he wants to continue his development at center. That's clear and obvious that is the main sticking point, that he wants to come back and he wants to play center. Now, I think both Aaron Brewer and Connor Williams both fit, especially schematically, this system much better at center. But that said, when you go look at Connor and you look at the tape from back when he was a Cowboy, he was still dominant dominant in the run game as a guard. Now, was he as good as he's been in pass pro at center since he's been Miami at guard? No. But with this coaching staff, I don't think that could be much of an issue. Now, the whole miraculous recovery, right? Because when I first heard these reports leaking out, what did I say? I said, Drew Rosenhaus sat up here and told everyone, this guy, there's a significant time needed for him to get right because this is potentially career threatening. Did this guy find Ray Lewis's stash of, that reindeer antler spray? Is that what's going on here? How do you go from even people in the local South Florida media who have speak to Drew Rosenhaus or speak to the camp, they were reporting. I mean, if you do the math, I was the first one to report the severity of this injury. I beat Barry Jackson to the punch. If you're a member or a Patreon, go check. It's right there. If you're a channel member, go to the community tab and go scroll all the way back a few months ago. If you're a Patreon, go and scroll back a few months ago. This is why when I heard that they were originally, and obviously they pivoted to Aaron Brewer. I get that. But the Miami Dolphins were originally interested in signing Andre James before he re-signed with Oakland. That was going to be their target. And I was hearing this before free agency, well before free agency. I was hearing this in like January, February and reporting on it. And what happened? Andre James re-signed the night before free agency opened up. So he was off the market and they pivoted to Aaron Brewer. The reason why I was hearing the Andre James stuff was why? Because they realized the severity of this Connor Williams injury and this team was ready to move on at center because they knew from what their staff had clearly told them, this is severe and this is going to take some time. That's why my whole thing was convince him to play left guard, let Isaiah Wynn start the season, and that'll give him time to get ready. And then, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does happen and Isaiah Wynn, history repeats itself and he goes down, you can slide in Connor Williams, then you can keep Connor there, re-sign him on a 2 or 3 year deal at left guard, and move off of Isaiah Wynn. But remember, Connor Williams also had an ACL tear in his other knee with the Dallas Cowboys. So we're talking about a guy with multiple ACL tears. And why is it unlikely he's going to return? Because he probably, like me and Ballgame discussed last Wednesday, he's probably holding a grudge because he wanted to be re-signed. And he wanted top center money. And the whole reason he wanted to re-sign was to avoid what's happening right now. I just don't understand how, now we're getting into, we got your agent going up on TV and talking about miracles are happening. Did a bell ring and an angel gained his wings and because they performed a miracle on your leg? What's happening here? So, if you could convince him to come back to left guard, that's the play. But by the sounds of it, he wants to continue his development at center, and that doesn't bode well. What is your opinion of us drafting Clay Webb? I believe you're talking about the offensive tackle from Jacksonville State. I haven't had a chance to really dive into them. The guys that I've dived into are like Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Ernest Green, kind of the top prospects at tackle next year. I haven't had a chance to dive into fully those other guys. You know what I mean? I've watched, I've watched a lot of them, like Xavier Truss, right? Kelvin Banks. I've watched quite a bit of the top guys. I haven't had a chance to really get into from outside really like the top 6 considered, right? So I've got some, I'll be watching, diving more. Ask me when the season starts. Knight, Connor is a good guard, but he is significantly better at center. I think he believes that's where he can make the most money. That's the whole play is right now is money. That's the 110%. The whole play right now is money. He believes that's where he's going to make the most money. That's what he believes. That's where he thinks it's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, speculate and stuff, but I mean, we all know that deer antler spray that Ray Lewis used on his arm to come back for the playoffs. We all remember. And AP is a freak though, but I'm going to tell you this. Let me ask you this. And this is just me, I have my own theories about you remember the draft class that came out of that 2021 draft class? You remember how after COVID, a lot of the players sat out because of COVID, and then they were doing crazy testing numbers? Don't think performance enhancing drugs are not at play here, right? Because these people aren't getting tested. They're not getting tested right now. Get outside of the offseason program. Season ends. Go on a couple cycles. Blah, 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 blah. Especially if you're rehabbing and you're not signed to a team. They're not going to test you. I was almost certain that 2021 draft class, the reason why we saw so many crazy combine numbers was because these kids were using PEDs. There was no testing happening, and because they were sitting out of football, so why are they going to test them? And, they're training using PEDs, blah, 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 blah. That's why you saw those crazy combine numbers. Don't think that stuff, and, that stuff helps the rehab process too. There's certain stuff you can use that are illegal by, testing rules that can help your rehab process. I mean, that's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not naive. I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean? I know what goes on. And there's a lot of people that are very smart with it. So it is what it is. Don't ever let it be what it ain't. All right. So, but continuing on here with Connor a little bit, Barry Jackson made his triumphant return last night, and this is what he said about the situation. Will center Connor Williams resign with the Dolphins? His agent offers insight. Dolphins free agent center Connor Williams is focusing on other teams as he aims to be ready for the start of the season after a serious knee injury last December against Tennessee. Asked by WSVN 7's Josh Moser about Williams' chance of returning to the Dolphins, agent Drew Rosenhaus said late last Sunday night, on behalf of Connor, I'm sure he'd be open to it. I wouldn't think that it's likely he would return here with the Dolphins. I certainly wouldn't rule anything out, but the Dolphins did sign a fine center in Aaron Brewer from Tennessee Titans and made a big investment. I think Connor, wherever he signs, it will be as a center. Brewer signed a 3-year, $21 million contract with the Dolphins in March, with $13 million of that guaranteed. Brewer and Williams have both played guard early in their careers, but the Dolphins signed Brewer to play center, and Williams prefers to remain at center after playing the position for 2 seasons with the Dolphins. Williams sustained a torn ACL against Tennessee, and he initially wasn't sure if he would play in 2024. Williams did not want to discuss a contract with teams early in free agency because of the uncertainty of how long he would be sidelined. Connor has had a remarkable recovery, nothing short of miraculous. Really looking for the goods for the start of the season. Rosenhaus said on his TV segment, there are a lot of teams interested in him. He's delighted for Connor. I did not anticipate him going to training camp with a team. It felt like it might be something during the season before he played, but he's done an awesome job. We're going to see Connor Williams in someone's training camp. Williams was an elite run blocker and pass blocker before sustaining the knee injury in the Monday night loss to Tennessee. PFF rated Williams the league's best run blocking center and the second best center overall behind Frank Ragnow from Detroit. What's more, Williams allowed only 1 sack and just 6 pressures in 280 pass blocking chances. As perspective, no center who had anything close to as many pass blocking snaps as Williams allowed as few pressures. The next closest was Nick Harris of Cleveland, who permitted 3 pressures on 169 pass blocking snaps. PFF's evaluations, Brewer was rated the 11th best center overall among 36 qualifiers last year. PFF rated Brewer 7th as a run blocker. He's mobile and fits Miami's zone blocking scheme, but Brewer permitted 6 sacks and 34 pressures and 622 pass blocking snaps per PFF. Undrafted out of Texas State in 2020, he was the Titans' starting center the last 2 seasons. Now, where I'm at with this, I think what happens here is this. I think, you saw PFF had him ranked 7th. So let's just call him 7th for the rating for the sake of PFF's argument. Those numbers are going to get better. With this coaching staff, those numbers are only going to get better. His development is going to increase rapidly. I think you're going to see a jump and a leap in Brewer's game. I think there's certain things they're going to be able to do with Brewer that they couldn't do with Connor. We've talked about this with his athleticism, how quick that first step is, how quick he is to the second level. You can pull with him from the center spot. I just think there's going to be a lot of things you can do with him. Now, with Isaiah Wynn healthy next to him, I like his chances as a pass blocker. I think he's going to improve as a pass blocker with this staff. These guys have literally turned chicken, S-H-I-T, into chicken salad with guys like Austin Jackson, with guys like Liam Eichenberg. What are they going to do with a guy who's already a damn good run blocker and has area for improvement in pass blocking? They're going to refine his run blocking and they are going to develop his pass blocking. That's where the focus is going to be. So I expect him to get better in both categories, significantly as a pass blocker and a little bit better as a run blocker. I've told you this before. I do not think there's going to be some steep drop-off off a cliff. Now, would I prefer Connor Williams, a healthy Connor Williams, to Aaron Brewer? Sure. I mean, you're better off with the guy who knows the system, who knows this team, who knows, from the coaching staff to the players, who's comfortable, or who's already shown how his comfort level in this scheme. You are better off with that 110% when it's healthy, fully healthy. But we go from his agent as well as local South Florida beat writers, including me, hearing things that this kid may never play again and the severity of this injury is why they pivoted off him, et cetera, to his agent coming out here and saying he's had a miraculous recovery. And, that's a risk, man. Now, it's always a risk, right? Because of the game they play and the injuries that happen constantly on Sundays. But, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that at all, to be honest with you. So that would have me a little apprehensive. I don't blame the Miami Dolphins for pivoting. I really don't. Now, again, if he's willing to take a reasonable paycheck and come and play left guard, sign me the hell up. Because then there'll be no pressure on him for week 1. None. So, right, have him in the back pocket in case something happens to Isaiah Wynn, and then boom, you're right up there. And then if he performs like you hope he performs at left guard, you can move off Isaiah Wynn, and if Connor Williams stays healthy, you can put a 2 or 3 year deal in front of him at left guard. That's what I would do. But clearly he wants to continue to play center and play. I don't think he's going to get the money he was looking for last offseason, clearly because of the injury, but we'll see. Drew Rosenhaus also talked about someone that we've speculated on in this channel. One of the people we've talked about, now they added Calais Campbell, that we've talked about bringing back, is why not bring Emmanuel Ogbah back? We saw how effective he was in Flores' defense, right? how he can move inside out. And again, another guy who's familiar with the team, going to be familiar with what's being asked of him, right? He's shown comfort in the situation. Emmanuel Ogbah, right? And so he is a Drew Rosenhaus client. And this is what Drew Rosenhaus had to say regarding Emmanuel Ogbah.
I want to ask you about another client, Emmanuel Ogbah, fan favorite here in Miami. Where is he at on finding a new team?
Thanks for asking, Josh. Things have really picked up for E-Man. He's got a really strong market right now. This offseason, there were multiple teams that were interested in signing Emmanuel. We just did not find the right fit economically or schematically. We want to make sure he's with the right team, playing in the 4-3 scheme, where he's more of a defensive end than he is a linebacker. That's pretty much what he was asked to do last year here, and he was somewhat out of position. So we're going to work hard to put him in a scheme that'll allow him to get back to doing the great things that he did at the height of his career.
So, because we're going to be running a hybrid defense, I think he fits here with what we're going to be asking him to do. I really do. You know what I mean? I don't think Weaver would ask him to do the same stuff Fangio did. I don't think Weaver would have a problem sliding him in as a D end and rotating him out with the Calais, with et cetera, with the other guys he got in there. I don't think that'd be a problem at all. I mean, I really honestly don't. Now, he also said economically. What does that tell you? That's a fancy way of saying the people aren't ponying up the money we want. Right? I mean, what else does that mean? That means people aren't ponying up the money right now. But I mean, other than, Sealer and Campbell, I would prefer him over a Deshaun Hand or a Neville Gallimore or a Jonathan Harris or a Mario Kendricks or a Leonard Payne, right? I would prefer him there. You want to play D end? Sure. Now you got a rotation of 3 guys you can really rely on, right? And a strong rotation behind them. The problem is, it's what Scotty's saying. What is Ogbah worth? That's the issue. And clearly Drew Rosenhaus and Emmanuel Ogbah think he's worth more than what other teams think he is. I mean, now, here's the thing. When he played last year, he was very impactful to the point where, players were vouching for him that you need to play. That this guy needs to play. You need to play this guy. But I think, the years of that $7.5 million average salary, that's gone. When you got guys like Calais Campbell who were putting up the numbers they were putting up last year, even with given their age. Now, again, Emmanuel Ogbah is going to turn 31 this season, I believe. In November, he's going to turn 31. The problem you're running into now is people are probably looking at him as a $2 or $3 million, maybe $4 million guy. The 5, 6, $7.5 million, that's out the window. Now, he's probably holding a little grudge because of the lack of opportunity he got. Because when he did get opportunities, he was making plays. Players were vouching for him to play more. So, I don't know how this is going to work out. But again, this team has like $16 million in cap space right now. If they wanted to make Ogbah work, they could. It's just not going to be the type of money he's looking for. Clearly, they're looking to get paid. I mean, that's what the economically comment was all about from Drew Rosenhaus. And what's he saying? There's a bunch of teams interested, but we haven't found the right economic or schematic fit. Now, we know what schematic fit means. That doesn't take much explaining. but a bunch of teams are interested, but we don't have an economic fit. What does that tell you? Yeah, teams are calling, but they ain't ponying up the bag. So, and you got to remember, a lot of players do not like training camp and this whole off-season regimen. So if you don't like the cost and the paycheck number that is being put on the table in front of you, that's not going to entice you to sign early on and go head out to camp. That's the other problem you're running into. We're probably carrying over around $10 million, right? Well, let me tell you this. If they sign Tua Tagovailoa, that $16 million number comes up to like $26, $28 million. Then if they give a new extension and move the money around with Tyreek, we got over $30 million, So I don't know. Sure, I mean, you could carry over 10 million, but the number I'm talking about right now could be inflated by the end of training camp. And carrying over 10 million could only be like a third of the cap space you have. Now, albeit, what's the good thing about having cap space at the end of training camp? Surprise cuts, you can bring them on. Also, you want to have some money for the trade deadline. Right? Let's be honest here. You want to have some money for the trade deadline if you're winning. And I believe the trade deadline is the Tuesday following week 9. So it's in between week 9 and week 10. Right? So if you are at week 9 and you're 7-2, 6-3, 8-1, and there's a team out there with some big impact players with some decent contracts, you can make that move. That's why you want to have some money in the bank too, because if you're in a position where you're winning, you are going to want to add to this team. And you could potentially add an impact player at the trade deadline if you have all that money sitting in the, as cap space. So that's realistic too, right? So there's a lot of ways you can use your cash. You can wait until the end of training camp and sign some surprise cuts, or you can hold on to that money and come trade deadline, you can continue to upgrade. Hammer says, what are the chances that McDaniel and Greer are waiting for a guard and center to shake out after the cut down? Yeah, maybe in the backup sense, right? I think they like Isaiah Wynn and Aaron Brewer and either Eichenberg or Driscoll as a starting guards. I think in the backup sense, 110%. 110%. In the backup sense, I could see us, cutting one of these UDFAs or Lester Cotton and bringing in someone if they get cut, a more viable option. We likely going to need some just in case O-line money, 110% too, right? Maybe that's their way of being prepared if one of those guys go down. So they got the money in the bank and they can go make a move, whether it's a trade or off the waiver wire, whatever the case may be, right? So, yeah, for real. Good points. So, continuing on here, speaking of creating money, all right, Bleacher Report, they came out with this article, and they said 7 NFL star contracts that should be restructured before the 2024 NFL season, all right? And sure as SHIT, guess who's one on this list? With just under a month until players start reporting to training camp across the league, the player acquisition phase of the offseason is mostly over. Right now, front offices are getting their own payroll in order. Just about every week we're seeing a notable contract extension, but that's not the only way to address a team's cap situation. There is also this is also the time of year where we could see a few contract restructures. Restructures are an important tool in the arsenal for front offices. They come in a variety of forms, but mostly have to do with converting salary into a signing bonus that is paid to the player and prorated over the remaining years of the contract. Teams can also add void years, which allows them to spread the cap hit beyond the contract. It's a way to create immediate cap space at the cost of pushing more money into the future. Looking across the league, there are a few stars whose contract could be restructured to give their team flexibility as they navigate the season. And number one is who? Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's agent Drew Rosenhaus has hinted at the famed speedster wanting a new contract with the Dolphins. The receiver has said being greedy isn't going to help the team, and this is why they want the new contract. The Dolphins restructuring Hill and making sure that more of his current contract is guaranteed could be a suitable solution for both parties. Hill has 3 more years on the 4-year, $120 million contract that he has signed when he was traded to South Beach. The contract currently has some seriously inflated money anchored by the final year of his contract that carries a $43.9 million base salary and a $56.3 million cap hit. Paying that cap hit to a 32-year-old Hill isn't going to happen. It's much more likely that the Dolphins will either release him, trade him, or extend him before that happens. By restructuring and cleaning up current cap space, they would afford themselves a bigger budget for this season while having the void year in place to push even more of his 2026 cap hit when the time comes. The need to smooth out that final cap hit is going to be even more pronounced if Tagovailoa gets a new contract. The Dolphins might as well spend the money before balancing the books gets even more difficult. And this is why they want the extension is what has been talked about, because like they mentioned there, they will add on void years and they will start spreading those cap hits around. That's all they're going to do. Right? Like it's going to spread it out. They're going to up the annual average because that seems to be what matters the most upon these wide receivers, and they'll convert some of that money, that new money on the extension, into signing bonus, and they'll move money around, et cetera, et cetera. And like, let's be honest here, you could probably afford to add on like 2 years. I don't see Tyreek Hill slowing down to like 34, 35. Right? Like Tyreek Hill is crazy. He's an alien. The guy doesn't stretch. He literally goes and just hits the field and starts working. The guy's a freaking alien. I think he's going to be just fine till about 34, 35. Then maybe after 35, you start to see a little bit of a decline. But he's such a top tier, top level athlete. Now, as far as extending him goes, in my opinion on that, you got to keep the band together as long as possible. If he's going to be productive at 33 and 34, don't you want him here? Now, on the flip side, I get the argument. Hey, we just extended Waddle. He's the heir to the wide receiver spot, one spot. We got to eventually move on. I get that, too. I get that argument 110%. You know, what it'll be telling is, this will be what will be really telling. If they don't extend him and they don't add on extra money, but then they turn around and they draft the wide receiver high next year. Right? Because OBJ is only on a 1-year deal. Now, when you go to the draft, I heard they were very high on Rome Odunze. How high, you ask? I heard how do I word this properly? Because there was never like super serious talks. But they explored the cost of moving up for Rome Odunze if he was going to fall. They legitimately explored what it would cost them to move up if Rome Odunze falls out of the top 10. I know that for a fact. They were super high on him. Greg says, is there even room for Izakama to make the team? 110%. Berrios and River Craycrafts are the ones that should be prepared, should be scared. I think if you ask me right now who my top 5 would be, it'd be Tyreek, Waddle, OBJ, Malik Washington, and Eric Izakama. If they're carrying 7, that 6-7 battle is going to be very interesting between Berrios, Craycraft, Tajay Washington, who I think has a great chance to make this team as well. Yeah, I think when it's the Berrios and the River Craycraft have to be worried, and I would be more worried if I was Berrios because we know this staff loves River Craycraft, and we know Tua does too. I think River Craycraft is the one who should be a little worried. If you want my honest, Braxton Berrios is the one who should be a ton worried, and River Craycraft should be a little worried. Tony Rizzi, Izakama has been standing out so far in the Underwear Olympics this offseason. Eric Izakama was standing out last offseason. The reason why I'm high on Izakama is because I heard a lot of the things they were planning on doing with him last year before he got hurt. Remember, they were cross-training, and I told you guys this. They were cross-training him with some tight end stuff. There were certain things in the playbook that were Izakama, they were gonna give you, different looks out of different packages, and Izakama was a big time part of that. There were some 12-man and 12 personnel and 21 personnel looks with Izakama that were really essentially 11 personnel looks. And that's what they were planning. And then it all went to, SHIT when he got hurt. But I know they got plans for Izakama. And I know they've had plans. Remember, Wes Welker went to Texas Tech. Sorry, what am I saying? Sorry, my bad. Remember, when you look at Wes Welker, right? Wes Welker went to the same school as him, which was Texas Tech. Like I said, right? So they both went to Texas Tech. Wes Welker knows how underdeveloped his route tree was and how underdeveloped as a route runner he was, right? Remember, this is a university that when Patrick Mahomes was there, they were running like an air raid. So Welker's taking him under his wings, and they've really developed Izakama. There are very, very, very high hopes for Izakama in that building. Trust me. And I think we're going to see, dare I say, he starts performing, and I think we see the greatness of Wes Welker as a coach. People don't realize how good of the coaching staff this is. Look beyond Frank Smith. Darrell Bevell is taking a step down. Darrell Bevell, at minimum in this league, is an offensive coordinator. We got him as a freaking quarterback coach. Wes Welker, I think, is going to be one of the hot names to be to get that offensive coordinator promotion when Frank Smith leaves. It's going to be Bevell or Wes Welker. And what I think happens if Bevell gets the job, I think they add a promotion to Welker's title to up his money to keep him here. Remember, Wes Welker left Kyle Shanahan to follow Mike McDaniel because that's how much he believed in him. Wes Welker is a fantastic coach. We have a very good coaching staff. John Embry. Look, we have a very good coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of guys who have it up here. So, yeah. Continuing on here, we've been talking about the offensive line and the issues with the offensive line. And Terron Armstead, here's the thing with Terron Armstead. Terron Armstead, we've been talking about the offensive line on the left side, especially between Wynn and Armstead. Will it stay healthy? Well, this is what Armstead said on the Russ Tucker podcast.
I actually feel great right now, Ross. I was just talking to my trainer today. This is the best I have felt in June in the last 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, it's like that. I'm on that type of time when I step on the field. I'm trying to really give defenders a bad day. That's what I'm on. That's the energy I'm bringing.
So Terron Armstead's out here saying this is the best he's felt at this point of June in 4 or 5 years. Man, I really hope that translates. I really hope that translates into him staying healthy. And we need him and Isaiah Wynn to have the healthiest seasons of their career. We need them for as many games possible in the regular season, and we need them for this playoff run. If you can, it's like what Britt said yesterday on Dolphins After Dark. If you can tell me this offensive line is going to be healthy, we're fine. It's when we start getting into the depth. It's when we start getting into the history of some of these players and the injuries they've had and the depth behind those guys with historical, a historical track record of being injured. That's when we start getting into the issues. That's when we start having, the doubt. Superfish says Craycraft has 0 guaranteed money. Berrios is guaranteed $7 million. Really hope Tajay makes the team. Love how we've addressed depth this year. I agree. I love how we've addressed depth on everywhere but the offensive line. Now, I think with tackle, we brought back Kendall Lamb. We got Patrick Paul. Okay, I'm happy there. Right guard, at least we got 2 guys battling at right guard, Liam Eichenberg and Jack Driscoll, so we've got some depth there. But at center and left guard, you're playing with fire. That's how I perceive it, at least. That's how I see it. So, listen, now, again, like you said, right? Like you said, I agree 110%. The depth at wide receiver is fantastic. Even it looks like the depth at tight end is ridiculous. Now, I don't know where you saw your numbers, my friend, at all. But, okay, here's the deal. If you were to trade Braxton Berrios, you would have $450,000 in dead money and you would save $1.682 million. If you were to cut him post June 1st, you would have $1.2 million in dead money, but you would save $932,000. You must be looking at some old contract of his or whatever the case may be. But, the move is if you trade him, if you trade him, again, you save $1.682 million, but you have to eat dead money, $450,000. Again, dead money and cap savings kind of even out. If you cut him, it's $1.2 million in dead money and it's $932,000 in cap savings. So, and I think this coaching staff loves Craycraft. I think we all think that. I don't think I'm the only one, right? I think we all pretty much know that. That's the reality of the situation. 324 of you in the room. Please do me the favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Listen, I gotta say to you. Do you want to see how crazy Tyreek Hill is? Look at this chart that came out. Look at this chart about Tyreek Hill. So this is receiving splits against single and 2 high defenses since 2022, right? And they're going single high yards per route run and 2 high yards per route run. Look at where Tyreek Hill is. It's literally, look at what the person who made this graph, impossible probably isn't human. Like, look at where Puka Nacua, look at where Waddle is. Waddle's in that receivers who are elite. And they want to try, and PFF wants to try to tell us he's the 23rd best receiver in the NFL. Are these people crazy? Are these people nuts? Huh? Now, yards per route run, basically this tells you how players respond, on their volume changing, right? So that's kind of what you get from it, right? Basically, you're dividing a player's yards by his routes run, right? And it gives you a pretty good understanding of how you can see them going with their volume change. So when you look at this, it's kind of crazy. Tyreek Hill is on another level. He's a difference maker. Man, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now that isn't named Justin Jefferson. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Superfish, if you go to Braxton Berrios on Over the Cap, I mean, you can see it for yourself, right? Braxton, if you go to Braxton Berrios Over the Cap, remember, he only signed, I don't know where you got your $7 million guaranteed or $7 million whatever, because he only signed a deal worth what? 1.4 million? Or sorry, 2.15 million. And he only had 1.2 of that fully guaranteed. So, yeah. If you look at it right now, trading him, you save a lot of money. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Over 320 of you in the room right now. I appreciate each and every one of you coming through. Enjoy the hockey game tonight. I will be back this week. Remember, Wednesday, night 1 of the content creators panel. Thursday will be night 2. Both will start at 8 p.m. So be there. Fins up. I'll see y'all in the next one. And have a fantastic evening, everyone.